The first thing you want to do with garland when you get it out is plug it in. Always plug your greenery in to make sure it works. Sometimes new product will have lights that aren't working. The second thing you want to do is make sure all tags are removed, such as this one right here. I've already previously cut it off, but make sure it is off. The third thing you're going to do is start fluffing your garland. You're going to take and you're going to fluff all the way around. Make sure that you are pulling the greenery so it sticks out as straight as you can get it to stick out. And you want the lights to go around in on the top and the middle and the bottom. When we do our garland, we want it to be such that it can be hung or displayed from any angle. So we don't decorate just the top, but we decorate all the way around our garland. I'm going to flip it here and notice that, oh great, I don't have lights on the back side. I need to bring some lights up and through to the back side. And you will go ahead and fluff the entire thing so it kind of looks like a woolly worm all the way around. So now that we have the entire garland fluffed, there you can see the garland, it is fluffed all the way around. We typically have it just down one table, but for the purposes of this video, I've chosen to double it back on the table. The next thing we're going to do is take our kit box that has all the ornaments in it for this particular garland. And we're going to pull out the pine cones and the size 100 balls, which are this size. Unfortunately, these balls are indestructible, so if you drop them, no big deal. So I'm going to pull those out and I'm just going to set them right in the middle there, and then I'm going to remove this box. There should be 8 of these size 100 balls. So now I have taken out all of these 100s and I've laid them out on the table. Oftentimes when I decorate, I'll decorate with one 9-foot piece of garland on one side of the table and another 9-foot piece of garland on the other side of the table so that I have a barrier to put my ornaments in so they don't roll off the table. For this video, so that you're close to the camera, I've taken the same piece of garland and I've wrapped it back around on itself so that we can see what's going on with a single piece of garland. What I'm going to do is take my ornaments that I've lined out red, gold, and what I've tried to do is make sure that the textures are different so that I don't have 2 of the candy apple next to each other or 2 of the durian next to each other. So not only are we alternating color, but we're also alternating texture. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these ornaments out on the garland so that they're evenly spaced, so that I know if I'm evenly spacing it before I start tying them all on. I'm going to put this one here, and I'm just laying it on top, and I'm using the garland to hold it in place. And I put them on and I realize, wait a minute, I have this much that is not decorated. I need to spread these ornaments a little further, which is the purpose of putting them here on top. So I'm going to bring this one down, and this time as I put them in, I'm just going to have a little more depth here, or a little more length in between the different ornaments. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is take these ornaments and put them on. Our garland has what I call a backbone. Running down the center of your garland is a central piece of wire. And then you have each of these green pieces coming off the garland that we have just fluffed. What we're going to do is take our ball, and we're taking this 100 size ornament, and I'm going to grasp it right here where the wire attaches to the ball. And I'm going to use my thumb, and I'm going to bring it down here on the garland. Ideally, I'll find a piece that does not have any lights on it. I'm going to grab this piece of greenery with my left hand. The ball's in my right. I'm right-handed. It would be opposite if you're left-handed. I'm going to bring this ball down on the right side of this piece of greenery. I'm going to push with my thumb deep all the way into the backbone. And then I'm going to take and twist to the right 4 times. Now, I'm not going to take my hands off of the wire as I do this, or it takes a lot longer. It's much faster to just hang on to the wire and go around 4 times and lift your left hand up. Now that it is on, I double check, and yes, this feels firm and it's right down to the center. I'm going to take my next ornament. I know what the spacing should be, but I'm not decorating just the top of the garland. I'm decorating all the way around the garland so that when the garland gets installed, it doesn't matter what the top side is. So I'm going to take this same way. I'm going to grasp it right by the ornament itself. I'm going to grab a single piece of greenery here, hopefully without lights, On the right-hand side of this greenery, I'm going to push down to the base, and I'm going to go around 4 times, but I'm going to put my ornament so that it's off to the side of the garland. So we have top, side, and now I'm going to take this next piece and I'm going to put it underneath, following the same procedure as before. What happens is, as you do these ornaments around, not only can you install your garland from any direction, but it also creates a nice full piece of garland. The deeper your large ornaments are into your garland, the fuller it will be. If I were to take this piece of ornament, or this ornament right here, and if I were to tie it out on the edge, what would happen is the garland would collapse in, and I end up with a whole bunch of balls on the outside and a very flat looking piece of garland. But by taking this ornament and tying it deep as I can, as close to that backbone as I can, it creates a fuller looking piece of garland. So now we have top, side, bottom, side. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of these 4, but because I've got the red ones on this top and on this bottom, I'm going to shift and not do these on the top and the bottom. I'm going to do them on the side. It doesn't matter that much, really, when the client gets the garland, or if you're decorating for yourself, your garland's going to shift as you start installing it. But just to try and get it as symmetrical as possible, we'll start with the ornaments going around in as equal a way as we can. And again, you want to stay as close in as you possibly can to the garland. If you have to wrap around some lights, that's okay. It's just nicer if you don't have to. This one I'm going to put at the very base on the bottom, because the yellow has not, or the gold has not been put on the bottom yet. As you can see, we're starting to create a garland that's got some volume to it. The next thing we're going to do is take our pine cones, which we've already pulled out, and we are going to space them just like we did the balls, because we don't want to end up with a whole bunch at one end instead of the other. So we're just going to put them on, and we can readjust if needs be. There are more pine cones than there are ornaments at this point. Pine cones are a wonderful filler. They don't cost a whole lot of money, and they look great. I can see I have a few left, so I'm going to look and say, maybe I could bring this a little closer, put that here, and maybe I'll bring this one in a little closer, bring this over to give it a little more equalizing as we go around. You can see this is going to add a lot of great color, and it's going to add some really nice texture and some really nice color. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm going to take these pine cones, and I'm going to sink them as deep as I can, and right up to the backbone, and I'm going to wrap around 4 times. Make sure as you wrap around that you're not wrapping up your piece of greenery, but you're wrapping right on top of the wire that's already there, and that will sew it in so it cannot come off. These are considered commercial grade, which means they don't come off easily. Okay, so I put this one on the side. I couldn't put it on the top because this is where the ball was. So that's on that side. I'm going to put this one right here on the top. I'm going to avoid these bottle brush garlands pieces. Do not put ornaments on those. They don't hold well. Just put them on the smaller pieces. And again, I'm pushing all the way down to the base, and I'm actually putting some pretty good pressure in as I do this, and wrapping around the 4 times to the right. So I've got a pine cone here. I've got one on the top. I'm going to bring this one down around to the side, holding in tight, putting my pine cone on the right side of my greenery, pushing to the base, and wrapping around 4 times. So I've got side, top, middle. We'll put this one on the bottom. And then I will go around doing the entire piece of garland this way. And just by putting on these 100 sized ornaments and the pine cones, you're going to see that this garland just comes to life starting at this point. Okay, as you can see, we now have all of our pine cones on, all of our 100 sized ornaments on. We're next going to move to what we call the 80s and the 70s. One note, I always decorate with these U-line. They're ultra thin gloves. They work really, really well so that your hands don't end up getting poked by the different pieces of greenery. I don't decorate any other way. I don't touch greenery without the gloves on. So next I will show you the 80s. I'm going to bring my box back up here. what we're going to do is we're going to decorate the top 3/4 of the garland. So we have this side, and this side. We're not going to start turning the garland to decorate yet. We're just going to use 3/4 of the ornaments and decorate here, here, and here all the way around. So when I take out my next size of ornaments, I'm only going to use 3/4, 2/3 to 3/4, just kind of depending on how it is. So what I need to do is look and see how many of my 80, this is the 80 size, red candy apples do I have. And looking through here, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to pull them all out. 5, 6. Okay, so I want to use between 2/3 and 3/4, which means I want to use 4 of these to do the top side, and I'm going to put the other 2 back. So I'm going to do that. So what I will do is take these, and I will evenly distribute them around the garland, just like we did the 100s and the pine cones. And as I do this, I'm going to look and say, okay, where do I have my red balls versus my gold balls? And I'm going to attempt to put these so that they're evenly distributed. But I only have 4 of them. So I'm going to put one here, one about here, and one here. And I look and I say, yeah, that looks good to me. And just know it doesn't have to be very precise. It's okay. I'm going to take, holding right at the edge of my ornament, and I'm going to sink these 80s down to the backbone, just like I did the pine cones and the 100s, and put them in. And again, as I'm wrapping these, I'm wrapping tight. This is a tight wrap. This is not a loose wrap. But I go around 4 times, and I can just decide, do I want it on the side? Do I want it on the top? Or do I want to put it on the other side? I will not put it on the bottom. I'm going to reserve those other 2 that we put aside for the bottom. So I'm going to look, I've got the candy apple right here, so I'm going to choose this side over here to put this on, and I can't find a piece that doesn't have light. That's okay. I'm going to put it as deep as I can, and I'm going to wrap it around. Again, the 100s and the 80s, the deeper they are, the fuller your garland is going to be when you're done, and the better it's going to look when it goes out to be installed, because it's going to end up in a box. It's going to be moved around from place to place. We want it to hold its shape as much as possible. So I've done these 4. The next thing I'm going to do, I like to stick with one color. So I'm going to pull out all of my red diamonds. And it doesn't matter which order I go in, I'm just picking a different texture and going for it. And I only have 3 of the red diamonds. So I'm going to use 2 of the 3. So I'm using 2/3. I'm putting 1 back. And I'm just going to look and say, well, where could I use some more red? How about right here? And how about over here? I've put them in. I like where I'm at. And I'm going to tie them into the piece of garland. I will do the same thing with everything that is an 80 or a 70. So these are 70 durians. I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to count, decide how many should go on, and I'm going to put them on. The same procedure. I'll do the same thing with my swirls. And that will do it for the 70 and the 80 size. With the size 70, I've gone ahead. I had 3 of the durians. I had 3 of the swirls. And I went ahead and I pulled out the 2 of the durians and the 2 of the swirls to put on the top 3/4 of this, and I removed the 1 of the durian and 1 of the swirl to put back. So, and I just kind of placed them along here. One thing to notice is that this durian is smaller. It's a 70. It's not the same size as this 80. You can see there's a size difference. The smaller the ornament, the further up this green piece that you can come. So instead of pushing it all the way to the base, I'm going to bring it up maybe a 1/2 inch, not any further. But I'm going to come up this greenery piece, and I'm going to just tie it onto the greenery up a little higher. As we get to the smaller balls, you can just keep coming up the greenery, and that will allow it to stay full and yet see these little pieces. So again, this one is not going all the way to the base. It's coming up about a 1/2 inch. You could go up as high as 3/4 of an inch. Don't go up as high as an inch. But you're going to do the same thing that you have just done with all of these and bring it up just a little bit. So the next ornament that we're going to put on are our 60s. We have 4 of our long glitters, and so we will end up putting 3 across the top here and leaving 1 in the box. And we have 4 of our 60 millimeter candy apples. So once again, we're going to put 3 of them on and leave 1 in the box. So what I'm going to do is just what I did with the others. I'm going to place them where I think we need another ornament that is red. And I will do the same thing with these here. And try and divide up so that maybe my candy apples are not all together. So I placed those on. When I go to put a 60 on, I get to come up almost halfway. So as I'm coming up this greenery piece, actually I'll show it right here. As I'm coming up a piece of greenery here, rather than pushing all the way to the base or even coming up a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, I could come up as far as halfway up here. But I need to stay down on the bottom half. If I come up here, what will happen is this will collapse and this will hang out here on the side and it doesn't look very good. So keep it below the bottom half or the top half. Keep it below the top half. I'm going to pull it up here tightly. I'm going to wrap to the right 4 times. And now our 60 is sticking up quite a bit higher than the rest, but it is still nice and tight and not down too far. Do the same thing over here. I've kind of come to the side because I don't have any red ones over here. I'm not going to go all the way in or it would get lost, but I'm going to go in over halfway. And I'm going to put this ornament on. And then I'll do the same thing with the other for the remaining 4 60s. So we've completed our red. You can see how it looks. Now it's time to move on to the gold. So I have 3 of my gold shiny 80s. So I want to use 2/3 of them. I'm going to put them over here. I have 3 of my candy apple 80s. Again, I'm going to use 2/3. So I'm going to put these 2 over here and put 1 back in the box. And I have 3 of my diamonds, my gold diamonds. I'm going to put 2 over here to go on. I'm going to put 1 back in the box. I'm going to take my garland and I'm going to distribute these evenly. I'm going to put a gold one here and 1 somewhere over here. And then I have these 2 and I will divide them out. And I have 2 more, which I will spread out as well. Now that I've placed them in approximate areas where they might look good, I can decide, do I want it on the top? Do I want it on the side? And since these are 80s, I'm going in all the way. I'm going in very deep, all the way down to the base, that backbone of the garland. So I'll take this, and I'm going to put it right here on the end, and I'm going to go all the way down in deep. And I'm wrapping 4 times around. I'm looking here and seeing that I could use some gold balls over here. Again, all the way deep. And I will do that with all of these 80s, going all the way around. Now that I have finished the 80s, I'm going to move on to the gold 70s. We have our swirl, once again, just like the red ones. I have 3 of them. I'm going to put 2 over here to put on my garland, and I have 3 of the durians. I'm going to put 2 over here to put on my garland. I'm going to put this down, and I will just evenly spread these out. There's only 4 of them, so it shouldn't be too hard to look and say, where can we use some more gold? And it's not that precise. Don't spend a lot of time worrying about, do I have it exactly perfect? Just put them in. So, actually, I'm going to flip that. Okay, so when I go to tie these in, just like when I tied in the red 70s, I don't have to go all the way in. I want to go so I'm up about that far from the backbone. So it's down, but it's not down all the way. So I'm going to place those in. So they're up just a little bit. Again, when I go to put this in, I won't go all the way to the backbone. I'll come about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch up from the backbone. All right, I finished putting on my 70s. I'm now going to move to the 60s. I have 4 60 gold long glitter. I will put 3 on, put 1 in the box. And I have 4 of my candy apple, and I'm going to put 3 on and put 1 in the box. So we just follow the same formula throughout, regardless of what the ornament is. And once again, I will just evenly distribute these across the garland, looking at where I feel like maybe we could use a little more gold, and just simply put these in. And then I will tie them in. As I go to do this, once again, the gold, or the 60s, don't go all the way in. They go over halfway down, so they're more down than up, but below halfway, and then tie them in. So once again, I'm going to put this in, and I will put it in so I'm over halfway down from the top, less than halfway from the backbone, and tie it in. And I will do that for the other 2, and then we are done with this side of the garland, and you can see that it's really turned out very nice and has a really full appearance to it. So the last thing that we're going to do before we move this garland over to the other side is I'm going to put approximately half of our leaves in. Now the leaves, so there's 16 leaves, I'm putting 8 of them in. When I go to put them in, what we typically do is run them all the same direction. It really doesn't matter, but that's what we traditionally have done. So this is the bottom and this is the top. This is the side where the light is plugged in. We're going to run it so the bottom always would face the plug-in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bend the bottom part down to make it look like it's rising up from the middle of the garland. And I'm going to bring this single piece of greenery, and I am going to wrap it one time and one time only around this stem of this. So it just goes around one time, and then we want some left poking up. One of the things we want to do is be able to always undecorate what we decorate. And so it helps to leave items or leave things up so we can actually reach them. I will do this first at the bottom and one more time close to the top, where I'm just going around once and I leave this standing up. One of the things I forgot to mention when I am doing the balls, and I am putting this on and wrapping it around 4 times, I should be left with a green stem, and that's good, because when we go to undecorate, we can actually find it to undecorate. We do not want to wind it till it's all the way gone. Just take your green stem and tuck it in, and it's not a problem at all. Okay, so back to our leaves. You can lay them on if you would like to get a sense of what might be an even distribution. In fact, that's probably a good idea. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But as you can see, I face them all what would be the same direction, running so that the top is pointing towards the female end of the plug. So now what I'm going to do, I put this one over here. I'm going to move this one over on this direction. Sometimes we will have one color of leaves. Sometimes we'll have multicolored leaves, as in we will have red leaves and gold leaves. Simply depends on the package. So once again, I'm going to bend this down when I go to put it in. I'm leaving it really running across the top. I don't put these leaves in really deep. I just wrap it around once towards the base and wrap it around one more time towards the top. And just one time in to give it that look of it flowing across the top of our garland. Okay, so we have finished the top 3/4 of our garland. It's looking very beautiful. And now we're going to take and turn it upside down. And so to do that, I'm just going to flip it this way. And we can see that the bottom side is definitely not feeling decorated. I am going to fluff out the greenery that has been crushed as it sat down on the bottom side. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the balls that are left and we're going to put them on the this side of the greenery. And we'll just follow the same formula that we have done before, where we put all of our reds on, and then we put all of our golds on. We'll put the larger balls on, and then the smaller balls. So we'll go with the 80s, then the 70s, and then the 60s. But it's the same format that we have just used. As I go to do this, I'm really just going to take and position this in right at the beginning first. So I have a sense of, okay, where am I putting my reds? Where are they going? The only challenge with this is sometimes you forget what has not been tied in, so you do need to go back and double check your balls. So I've put these in. This one needs a new wire, so I'll take care of that in a moment. And once again, my 80s will go down deep. My 70s will go up a little higher. And then my 60s will go up above that. This is a 70, so it goes just a little bit higher than the 80. After I have put in my reds, I will do the same thing with my golds, and then I will put in my leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of these, and then we'll come back and see how it looks. Okay, I have finished putting in all of the ornaments. Now I'm going to put in the leaves. I had used half of these leaves, 8 on the top and 8 on the bottom. That is a deviation from the way I did the ornaments. The ornaments I did 2/3 to 3/4 on the top 3/4 and then flipped it over. I found it just works better to divide the leaves up 50-50 and just put them where you feel we need another piece of color to make the garland stand out. So that is what I'm doing. I'll finish putting them on and then we will be done with our garland, and I will show you how to put the garland in a garland box. This is a garland box. It's 24 inches by 24 inches. We can fit 2 pieces of garland in each garland box, assuming the garland is 14 inches in diameter and 9 to 10 feet long. So what we're going to do is coil it. We start at the bottom and we create a coiling motion going around what we have stuck in. If we coil the garland in, we can easily fit 2 pieces of garland into the box.